All right, so, any questions on, yes?
We're next, right?
Yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah. We're right there. Highest in obesity, and I'll tell you what,
We
I
don't
better not say it. Well, I was going to say something really sarcastic. But that, you know, it would get out to the powers that be, and I just don't want that to happen. I would like this house to be like Vegas. It was 70 years, stays in here. But I can't trust
we know.
No, let's do it.
Yeah. You know what's up for people?
I'm sure, but I did hear Lee saying this the other day, so it's not me. If you're going to blame somebody, it's going to be Lee. But, you know, because the city of Detroit is one of the most obese cities in the country. And I was thinking to myself, at Detroit Country Day, well, I heard Lee say that. At Detroit Country Day, we could never, with our present lunches, we could never be called obese. You just don't get any calories at all.
No protein, no calories, nothing.
Isn't that true? Didn't you say that? Huh?
It's time to talk about that.
Yeah. Any questions about the powers of the federal government? Elastic. I believe we ended yesterday, or we should have. I'm going to move this back here just a little bit. There are some powers that are expressly declined, negated. One is property. Both the federal government and the state government can take your land. We said this yesterday, did we not? Take your land, but they got to pay you for it. It doesn't have to be what you think it's worth. It can be what is the fair market value. Any questions on the denied powers? We went over all of them. There are some concurrent powers. That's the ones in the middle. Did we get this far?
Get this out of here.
Did you watch that guy on is it Federal Express or UPS where he draws those perfect circles? Unbelievable. I can't even get them to look even normally right there. Anyway, concurrent powers are the ones in the middle. You can establish two kinds of courts. Now, let me explain this. Two figures. Number one, November 16th. Mark it down your calendar. Make sure you are free to go on November 16th. We're going to court, district court in downtown Detroit on the 16th of November. So clear your little calendars. We go, all three of my sections will go. We'll fill Judge Ryan's court, and you will see sort of local government in the flesh. It's afterwards we'll eat in Greektown, and then come home.
Where's his corner?
It's right around the block.
Right next to Green.
Right next. It's 1 block away. 1 block away. Courts, different kinds. There are two kinds of, for the most part, there are two kinds of courts in our court system. There are criminal courts, and there are civil courts. These are defined as actions against persons and property where there is, in a sense, for the most part, system and the state system have crimes that are specific to these particular issues. You can also have issues of fraud. Civil courts tend to be with property disputes, title disputes, or issues of liability. You know, you run into a car, you watch, for the most part, Judge Judy. They're trying to get money back. Those are not criminal courts in Judge Judy. By the way, the fees that are paid there when they give the final hammer down on those cases, those are paid by the sponsors. Those are not coming out of those people's pockets, just so you know. They would be if they were in actual civil court as well. When we go to court, we're going to go to criminal court. Just so you know. Also, you might want to know that 97% of all people who go through the criminal court system plead out. They plead to a lesser case. Civil courts, you're looking for some kind of financial remuneration. That's a good way to understand the difference between civil courts and criminal courts. In some cases, you can get tried in a criminal court and be found innocent, and then they can turn around and sue you in a civil court, and you can be found guilty for somewhat the same crime, although one is monetary damages and the other one is physical. The very case is the O.J. Simpson trial. In the criminal case, he was found innocent. In this case, they retried him here, and they got a judgment of about, $2.5 million, which he has never paid. Now he's in jail.
For not paying it?
No, he's actually in jail. He's actually in jail for trying to rob some guy, for trying to rob somebody.
Didn't he sell all his equipment or whatever?
He went to somebody's house and got the discrepancy.
Well, what he did was he tried to hide those assets in various places so that they couldn't, that the Brown family
What do you
couldn't
mean
get
hide
out.
assets?
He basically put it in different states so that they couldn't come get it, so they couldn't take the property. He sold his house, moved to Florida, so they couldn't take his house in Florida.
Have you ever read his book?
No. He was for those of you who don't be, he was never guilty. Both can define different crimes. Both can establish environmental standards. That's why, for instance, like there's a national EPA, and then California always wants to bump it up a little bit. Right? So there's gas mileage is a classic one in which both the state and the federal government can establish certain gas mileage laws as to how many miles per gallon you can get, and then each state can say that's great, that's not good enough. It's amazing to me that the state that actually establishes the air quality coming out of cars has one of the most lax air quality controls in America. When you buy a car in Michigan, you do not have to have it inspected anytime after you have purchased the car. In New York State, you've got to get that car re-inspected every year. Make sure that the brakes are all right. You got to make sure that the lights are working. You got to make sure that your catalytic converter, which is making sure that the air is as clean as possible, is working correct. But in Michigan, by the car, you never have to get it registered every year, but you don't have to get it inspected. Police forces, which is why you can see you have federal police forces, you have U.S. Marshals, you have the FBI, Then you have local police, like the sheriffs, and local police departments, like the police department, and those are shared events. One of the things that the Constitution absolutely demands is that every state has a Republican form of government. Paris, what does Republican form of government mean? No. What does a Republican form of government mean? We are a republic. Rome, in its early days, was a republic. We are classically a democratic republic, but we are a Republican form of government. Now that may kind of irk some of you Democrats. No. As a form of government, we are a republic. Yes?
Citizens of the United States have to vote for representatives in Congress.
Yes, we are, very simply, we are a representative government. We are not a democracy. We are a democratic republic. We are not a full democracy. Even Greece, under Pericles, the funeral oration, remember that? Limited democracy. By the way, Mr. Neely, do you remember Pericles? The name, at least?
Yeah.
You remember his funeral oration? He limited democracy. And by the way, for those of you who are wondering, Pericles, when he wrote his funeral oration, was jumping off from Cleisthenes' idea of democracy, but Cleisthenes never actually coined the phrase democracy. It was first coined by Pericles. But like all democracies, he wanted it limited. Remember that? He advocated a limited democracy. Miss Stone, what did he want? What did Pericles want the democracy limited to? Do you remember? Patrick? You had to serve in the army. You had to fight for Athens if you wanted to actually actively participate in government. What do you have to be in order to actively participate in our government, Patrick? There's only one really requirement. Yeah? Okay? 18. Citizen and 18. That's pretty, and here's another classic case. The proposal with the new defense spending bill, Harry Reid, the Democratic senator from Nevada, senator, majority leader, picture was up there the other day, has asked to tack on to the defense spending bill an immigration law. Does anybody want to know what he wants to do with immigration? Which is kind of amazing. This is rather interesting. Yes?
It's about babies.
Yeah, babies.
Yeah, if they're born here.
No, not even if they're born here.
They're born close to you.
So born on U.S. citizen.
No, well, that's the way it's always been. That's how John McCain gets citizenship. That's how, believe it or not, Obama gets citizenship. But what about the babies?
Something about anchor babies.
If you're an immigrant and you illegally cross the